Welcome back to another episode of the Collaborative IEP Podcast. I'm Ashley Barlow, and I'm so happy you are here. And friends, we are working our way through that back to the basics presentation that I gave several years ago for the first time here at the Collaborative IEP called 7 Simple Solutions to Solving Your Sticky IEP Situations. And today's sticky situation is when schools have a lack of knowledge and the school team truly doesn't know what to do. So I want to start this off by saying, this is all okay. There are things that we do not know, and that is okay. There are misunderstandings, and that is okay. There are personality styles that just don't jive, and all of that is okay. It is all perfectly okay. So there is absolutely no judgment in what I am about to say. And what I am about to say is this podcast episode is going to be very helpful when you encounter a situation as a parent or an advocate when what you are saying doesn't make sense to the school. They don't know. They lack knowledge on the topic that you are addressing. This happens a lot for me on reading. Funny enough. In the last 2 or 3 years, it happens less often because reading is getting a lot more attention, due in part to that amazing podcast series and articles from NPR. The podcast is called Sold a Story, and it's amazing. So let's use that as an example. Let's say that the parents are saying, I would like for my child to have access to the science of reading, not to this curriculum that you're using, which doesn't follow the principles of science of reading. Whether that is a functional reading program like Edmark by Attainment, or it is something like really from the 1980s, like, and uses the 3 cueing system that gets all the attention in the Sold a Story podcast. So sometimes schools, I say, are you following science of reading principles? That's like a really general way to ask, are you doing this, and this, right? But you can wrap it up by saying, are you following science of reading principles? Or do you know if that is Orton Gillingham compliant? Or it happens when I talk about interoception a lot. It's like one of the sensory processes. What about interoception or school avoidance? Or what are some other things that they don't know about? I should have made a list before we hopped on here. School avoidance. Oh, I know. PDA. Okay. So you get what I'm talking about, right? Like things that are maybe newer to be researched or not mainstream, or maybe they're more like prevalently talked about and treated and supported in the clinical setting, but also could be treated and supported and taught in the school setting. Okay. So again, I'm going to stress it's not their fault and there's no judgment. Like there are all kinds of things that I don't know. I just found out something in Kentucky about how you can code a class, like a general education class, in order to make it a special education class if you aren't on the regular diploma track. And I was like, okay, cool. But we had this like really rhetorical conversation around it. And then I realized that they were talking about something that I had no idea about. So I was like, oh, I need more information. Can you please tell me? Right? So that is the response that you are trying to elicit from the school district. Like, oh, I don't know what that is. I need more information. Okay. Now, when you do that, or the way to do that involves a like, whoo, put the ego in the back seat mentality, right? Because it is really hard to say, oh, I need more information. Tell me about it. If somebody is like, what? Like attacking you with information. If somebody's attacking me with information, I might even fake it until I make it. And I like to pride myself in being really humble and being like, I don't know what you're talking about. I need more information, right? So even the most collaboratively minded people might be more inclined to like fight back and get more stubborn and stick their heels in the ground, even when they don't understand, if your mentality is this like attack mode mentality. So, all of these simple strategies are going to come from this mentality or from this with this goal in mind that we need to disarm other people at the table. Okay. So, step one, when you encounter this, is going to be to try to like chill everybody out. And you can probably anticipate this kind of lack of knowledge before you go into a meeting. So, if you're able to, I would try to, in a very collaborative way, supply some information before the meeting. Like I would try to supply a little bit of information. So, you can handwrite on the draft IEP, or you can send an email if it's not a meeting with a draft IEP that says, as you know, or one of the big priorities is gaining access to blah, blah, blah. So, supports for my student because he has a PDA profile, or for Orton Gillingham reading, or for a curriculum that aligns with modern principles of the science of reading. And so that we're all on the same page, here's a resource that I have found to be super helpful relative to that. And here's what I like in that resource, right? So you're sharing one or two resources. You're not asking them to listen to an entire podcast or to read a 30-page research article, but and certainly not like an entire web page, right? But you are saying, here's 2 or 3 pages from a reputable source that shows that, you know, that describes what I'm going to be talking about. Okay. And that way they've got time in their own quiet, in the quiet of their own study, to educate themselves about the thing. That's most ideal. Another thing that I sometimes do is I sometimes make a one pager. So I'm like, here is PDA, like I go on the resource myself and I'm like, here's what PDA looks like. Here's what PDA looks like in this kid, right? So so if you're looking for more supports in ADHD, you might be like, here are the things that are on the Vanderbilt test, Vanderbilt questionnaire, whatever it is, profile survey. I don't know. You psychologists are like, oh, so choosy and picky about your words. I'm sure there's a reason for that. So here's what's on there. Oh, my kid acts like he's driven by a motor. And here's 2 examples of that. My kid acts like he, doesn't take accountability for his own actions. And here's what this looks like at school, at home, in the community, etc. Right. And so you might have more success with that kind of thing. Like I've done a lot of research on the science of reading, and here are elements of Scarborough's rope, and here's what that looks like in my kid. So I don't think my kid has really good phonological processing, because in 3rd grade they're supposed to be doing this, and my kid is still struggling with this 1st grade skill. I don't think my kid has good literary concepts. I do think my kid's vocabulary is extraordinary, whatever it is, right? And so then you're really kind of personalizing it and you're preparing them for the meeting. And you have this collaborative spin, like, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys think about this. Now, you can include information from evaluations, from other professionals, from their coaches, from, wherever the community support is. You can include that in that pre-meeting disclosure, so to speak, the like setup for this conversation. And it should be a conversation. Then in the meeting, you've got to disarm them. So you come into the meeting with really good collaboration. I think meetings are way more effective, and I would love to study this if there's like really easy chit chat. So have something to come in with. Like, one thing is if the kid connects with the teacher, like, oh, I love this story about blah, blah, blah. Yesterday in a meeting, the kid was like really interested in the teacher's child. And so, oh, my student shared a cute story about my kid, and that was really fun. So we chit-chatted about it. I usually look up when a break is coming up, like, hey guys, you only have 4 days until break. We can do it. That kind of thing. So just like easy peasy chit-chat. If it feels natural to you, you might include a treat. You might bring donuts or coffee or something like that. Again, just to like diffuse any tension that might be in the room. Then you want to make sure that you have an easy breezy vibe. I would not go in there in a black pantsuit if you can avoid it at all. I mean, you also don't want to wear your pajamas. I like when I go to meetings, I am very, very conscious to make sure that I look like a mom. Now, there are times that I want to make sure that everybody knows that I am also a professional mom that is a skilled advocator. And so I might put on a jacket, but your dress can really mean something, okay? Your hair can mean something. Certainly your body language can. So when you are having this particular part of the conversation, take a deep breath. Make sure your shoulders are down. Make sure your eyebrows are down. Make sure your arms are not crossed. Make sure like that you are actually even like leaning back in the chair if that's comfortable for you. So that you are showing this open, collaborative posture and you are trying to not get anybody's ego too excited. If their egos start to take place, then they're going to want to win and they might not care if what we are suggesting is the best thing for the kid or not, right? All they are going to care about is winning. And that's a psychological thing that they are not going to be aware of. So we've got to give them the information and then we've got to get them to a place where they don't feel intimidated about what they don't know. And I think those two strategies are going to be the most impactful at helping out in this situation. So, short and simple. I hope that's helpful. Don't forget that we recently reduced the cost of the membership to $27 a month. That's about 8% of what it would cost for a 1 hour consult, or I think it's 2 1 hour consults with me because we have 2 in March this year. If I did the math right, maybe it's 1. Anyway, it's very, 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 very less money than it is to have a 1 hour consult with me. And you get 2 in the month of March, Ask Me Almost Anything Q&As where you can bring your questions and we show up on a Zoom and I answer them and we help one another. So we've got that. We've got the entire IEP binder. We've got the entire lab, the negotiation workshop, and all of those checklists, guides, and communication template. I had to think a second. I will see you next week, same time, same place. Have a great week.